Hello everyone, this is Rookie and welcome back to Roman's Christmas. Let's continue the last off, shall we? Oh, by the way, Merry Christmas everyone. I hope everyone's having a happy holidays. Hopefully. Okay, so we are back here. And now, actually, what question do we ask? About the miller's daughter, about the apprentice, or there's no need to know? What? No, we need questions. Let's ask about the miller's daughter. I'd like to know about the miller's daughter. Alright, y'all ready for my terrible voice acting? Here we go. Elena, the miller's daughter, she's 16 years old and a grey wolf. She had no shortage of suitors in the town, and even caught the eye of a few local nobles. And not just because of her father's wealth, she was also renowned for her beauty. She had been the dream girl for every bachelor in the town since she was 14. What? Excuse me? Okay, sorry. She has been the dream girl for every bachelor in the town since she was 14. Okay, something about that sentence does not sound right to me. I'm sorry. That's just weird. Anyway, she had a good relationship with her father, or at least other outsiders thought so. Character info. Miller's daughter, 16-year-old Grey Wolf, has a lot of admirers and get along well with her father. Okay. I would also want to know... No, we're not skipping this. About the apprentice. What about the miller's apprentice? The apprentice was Hans. He came to the mill from the next town 8 years ago. At that time, he was just 10 years old and all alone in the world. No parent could be so cruel if it weren't for money. Fortunately, the miller treated him well. The apprentice was also very clever. He always seemed to be able to succeed, no matter how complicated the miller's orders. Another character if I had it. An 18-year-old cat came from nearby town 8 years ago, gained Miller's favor due to his diligence. Okay. Recently, there was a rumor that he had a close relationship with the miller's daughter. Wait. What? Isn't he 18 and she's 16? Oh. Luckily that's not a big age gap, but that's not good either way. Either way, that's not good. Love? Attitude clue. The miller's daughter seemed to have a special bond with the miller's apprentice. Oh no. Is this gonna be one of those things where it's like Romeo and Juliet type of deal? Like one's older than the other type of deal? Let me think. Go on, please. I have to say those two caught my interest. Please go on. Oh, okay, Tsarzn. Okay. What about the miller's reputation? The miller lived his entire life in the town and had no enemies. He was well regarded by the townsfolk. His wife died of puerperal fever shortly after she gave birth to Elena, and he had lived as an old bachelor ever since. He'd had several drinking friends who he'd meet with in the pub almost every night after supper, drinking and talking until the tavern closed. Oh, that's the wrong button. Damn it. The miller. Admirable and doesn't have any enemies. After dinner, he usually stays at the tavern till it closes at 10 p.m. Okay, so he's a regular at the tavern. Okay. It sounds like some of the tavern's regulars. I was just thinking of that. Me and Sar, we're thinking the same way right now. Some folk at the tavern provided the detective with additional information. The miller had been extremely generous recently, and one day he even bought everyone in the tavern a round of ale in celebration. An ale in celebration. Sorry, I'm losing my voice for this guy. That's really generous. Oh no, I can't see further down. It won't let me read further down. Are you kidding me? I can't. Oh no. It's the text is cut off. The text is cut off. I can't see down there. Well, great. I can't see that. That's all the information on those present. Having gotten his fill of gossip from the noisy drinkers in the tavern, the detective left the tavern and went walking towards the mill. Within 10 minutes, the detective arrived at the mill. It was a clear and windless morning. The snow at the gate of the mill hadn't been swept away by the overzealous villagers. The detective, relieved and cautious, checked the snow from the outside. The snow was unexpectedly clean. Okay, so the mill's right here. This is where the detective is, and this is the tavern. Okay. Apart from the footprints left by the villagers who found the corpse in the outer circle and the footprints that went all the way to the front of the house, there was nothing except some messy traces in front of the last footprints. Maybe he tried to cover his tracks or something, maybe? Footprints. There were footprints in the outer ring of the snow, one of which reached the door. In front of the last footprint, there was a jumble of tracks. Yeah, somebody was trying to clear the footprint paths. It seemed that there was no shortcut or alternate entrance. The detective put on his hat and came to the mill door. He glanced down by accident before entering the door. There seems to be a circular imprint around the last footprints in front of the door, and the stone used to hold the door open had also been moved. Circular imprints. There were circular imprints around the last footprint in front of the door. Okay. The stone used to hold the gate for easy access has been moved. Stepping inside, the detective met Elena, who was covering her face and crying, and Hans, who was comforting her. The body of old Miller was still hanging on the windmill, swinging like a pendulum in the wind. Wait a minute. You said in the wind, but I thought you said it was a windless night. Wait, go back. Yeah, it was clear in a windless morning. Something's not right. Anzox, do you want to listen to the testimony or go straight to the scene? Hear the testimony or investigate the scene? Oh. Ooh, let's see. That is a big decision. Let's listen to the testimony. Hear the testimony. Oh. Okay, never mind. I made a mistake. Oops. I forgot what voice that gave Elegant. Perhaps you should investigate the scene first in case something gets destroyed later. Not to mention the witness does not seem to be emotionally stable. Oh, uh, maybe you should listen to her, even though she is a. Oh, the glare, the glare coming from Elegant's veil should have set Anzox on fire, so he shut his mouth tactfully. So, let's go back. Yes. Scene investigation. Let's investigate the scene first. Well, you... Anzox. Well, you don't want to ask Elegant for advice? After all, the ladies first, although with her appearance it's difficult to... His face again. Ah! Even through the veil, Elegant's fierce glares pierced Anzox like the shaft of an arrow. He quickly shut up. The detective first went up the stairs to check the scene of the death. Anzox quickly sketched something on a piece of paper and handed it over. Oh my god, is that just his head hanging there? What the hell? The mill is divided into 3 floors and is about as tall as 5 people. Oh, okay. Between the maintenance gondola on the 3rd floor and the window on the 2nd floor is the connecting shaft between the fan blade and the mill. Clue. A 3-story, 8-meter tall building. Between the maintenance basket on the 3rd floor and the window on the 2nd floor, there is a connecting shaft of the windmill blades, which is slightly higher than the doorway. Okay. The maintenance gondola is extremely narrow and long, and is about as wide as an adult's foot. There was a layer of snow on it, but no footprints. 2 ropes were tied at the railing of the basket. The left part was covered with snow like the other parts of the railing, and there was no snow on the right part. Hanging basket. It was very narrow and long, covered with snow, but there were no footprints. There were 2 pieces of rope tied to the railing, one on the left with snow, the other on the right without. The detective leaned against the railing and looked down. Under the wooden railing hung the cold body of the miller. The rope on the left has only a section of rope head, swaying in the wind like a peddler who dared not to go home without a sail. As he tried to lean out further, the railing creaked under the pressure. The snow fell from the inclined railing, falling and disintegrated. Disintegrated in the air. The detective's biological instincts kicked in, his fur bristling involuntarily. He pulled back quickly and turned to check the situation at the entrance, putting his right hand inside his coat and grasping the dagger he kept to defend himself from villains. It was the gift from his first love. Every time he held the dagger, it reminded the temperature of her palm on that fateful day. Are we listening to a love story or something? His facial expression is awesome. Please! 1 elegant is enough! The detective turned around and found nothing behind him. He went downstairs quietly and found the 2 of them were where they were, as if they had not moved. Or did they move secretly? Who knows? He went back to the 2nd floor and looked up from the window. Above his head was the rotating shaft of the windmill blade, which gleamed black from grease from the daily rotation and maintenance. The shadow cast by the rotating axis hit the detective's face, which gave him a very uncomfortable feeling. as though he was some prehistoric hunter shuddering in terror at the sight of some giant beast. The gears of the windmill were exposed about 30 centimeters away from the upper eaves of the windows. The triangular teeth were distributed around the rotating shaft. The detective put his hand onto his coat pocket and gently ran his thumb across the edge of the prism he carried. Something came to his mind. The detective looked out of the window again. The lowest gear groove seemed to be more worn than the others. Gear, about 30 centimeters from the eaves of the window, the lowest notch is badly worn. He went back to the first floor, passing by the living room, and straight into the kitchen. The oven seemed to have been used recently, and the kitchen filled with a mixture of the pungent smell of charcoal and the delicious grain smell of barley bread. He opened the oven and flicked the ashes with a stick. The shape of a piece of charcoal under the ashes reminded him of the prism in his pocket. Like a wedge. Coal. There was a wedge-shaped piece of coal in the oven. Having gathered the necessary evidence, the detective returned to the living room to question the witnesses. Noticing the detective's approach, Elena sat upright with Han's support, her eyes drooping. She was dressed in a light blue nightdress. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her facial fur was combed, and it was easy to see the state of disorder despite her attempts to cover it. Anzox coughed a few times, and when he spoke again, it was in a higher, feminine voice. I can't do this voice. Welcome, Mr. Detective. I assume this visit is related to my father's death? It'd be nice if you could talk this way more often. What the heck? It's really hard to speak like this. Come on, show us your dedication to your craft. It took the detective about 10 minutes to persuade the apprentice to go upstairs with his servant, lest one of their testimonies influence the other. After formally introducing himself, and some brief preparation, the detective asked her to tell the story of that night. Testimony. Ooh, the testimony of Elena 1. Okay, here we go. Yesterday, after dinner, my father went to the tavern as usual. I finished my housework after about 8 o'clock. It was about 2 hours before my father came back. Nothing seemed strange. I then went up to Hans' room to chat with him. 2 hours passed by, and we didn't realize that my father had yet to return as normal. It wasn't until around 11 o'clock that we realized how late it really was. I hurried downstairs thinking my father was quietly sitting in the living room, ready to scold me. But he wasn't there. The door was closed, and no one was in the living room. I had a feeling that something terrible must have happened. It was like a snake had slithered under the door and crawled up my spine to whisper in my ear. I don't know if it was because of the wind or the old hinges, but the door on that day was more difficult to open than usual. I pushed the door open and the wind blew the snow into the house. I propped the door open and made my way outside. When I got under the windmill, I had a strange thought, like an itch on my back that couldn't be scratched, and I couldn't help but look up. Hanging above my head was the purple face that was swollen and swaying in the wind. His eyes were as prominent as goldfishes. Saliva had flowed down his open, screaming mouth and frozen into ice on his snout and fur. I was frightened, so I rushed back into the house and closed the door. I couldn't sleep afterwards. Every time I closed my eyes, I could still see that face. I couldn't believe that was my father. Excuse me. Elena's testimony. The miller went to the pub after dinner. Elena went to Hans' room to chat from 8 to 11. When she went out, she saw the dead miller. She was so frightened that she had shut the door. As she finished her description of the horrible situation, Elena collapsed on the sofa with her hands covering in her face. At this time, the detective smelled something fishy in her testimony. After thorough thought of her testimony, the detective found the irreconcilable contradiction between the testimony and the evidence. Which evidence contradicts Elena's testimony? Okay, what was Elena's testimony? The miller went to the pub after dinner. Elena went to Hans' room to chat from 8 to 11. When she went out, she saw the dead miller. She was so frightened that she shut the... Wait a minute. The the pub closes at 10 though, right? Um Wait a minute. The miller was killed soon after he returned home, so since he was still in his coat, every person in town had alibi when he died. The body had no wound. I think it's the first deduction, I think. Because none of these clues are giving me a reason about Elena's test. I think it's the first deduction. I'm 100% sure. Let's go with it. Maybe this one? Oh no. Think I keep on messing up Elegant's voice. Think before you speak. No, that's Anzox's voice. Think before you speak. Duh! Which evidence contradicts? I thought it was the first deduction. I guess I was wrong. Is it? Oh, what is it? Is it Elena's testimony? Really? It must have something to do with the case. Like what? I can't explain it clearly for now. Just shut up. Oh my goodness, I am a bad detective. Holy crap. I'm confused. If what was her testimony? The miller went to the pub after dinner. Oh, it's the footprints, right? Footprints. It is the footprints, yeah, because there was the only footprints were the millers. Oh, no. Oh, give me some details. The paradox is safe. Alright guys, that's to end my video from here, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Roman's Christmas. Bye everyone, and Merry Christmas everyone. God, I'm a bad detective.